Here's the Hobby King Bush Mule that my wife picked me up for Christmas. She chose this airplane because I said, hey, would you get me a Hobby King Bush Mule for Christmas? And it worked out very well. So I did a bunch of research and I had to go all over the place to find out what I was after and how to set this thing up. So I thought I would do one kind of all-in-one quick video on how I set it up on my DX9. I have all the options that it has available. Here's the orange receiver on this bind plug. After I bound it, that's where I have this lamp plugged into. You can steal power off that bind plug and it won't affect anything, it'll still bind. This throttle, which is the left engine, I have plugged into the throttle. Then I have what's obvious, the ailerons, elevator, rudder, all plugged in normally. On the gear channel, that's where I have the reverse plugged in. And then I have flaps plugged into aux1, cabin, which is the bomb bay door, plugged into aux2, and then throttle, the right engine, plugged into aux3. Okay, the next thing I set up was the flap system. If you chose the correct wing type, this is super simple. When you click once here, go into your function list, you'll have a flap system option. Click that flap system option. The flaps on this cycle strangely when you bind the plane. They go all the way on, and so I set this to 100% is my off position. I set it up on this switch because that's where I have flaps on all my planes. So when I throw this switch, I go from 100% to 0%, which is half flaps,
Landing
and
flaps.
then negative 100, which gives me full flaps. The next thing I set up was the cabin, or what's really the bomb bay door. It's marked cabin on the tag. Right there, it's marked cabin. Remember I set that up in aux2. So simple again to do. Seems simple anyway, right? If you go to System Setup, click Yes, go to Channel Assign. You almost never have to do anything with your RX port assignments, just best is to leave those alone. Go to, there's aux2, click it. I like mine set up on this switch because this is what I normally use for landing gear. So that'll be easy to remember. So cycle that switch a few times. Click to save it. And click back. Adjusted how far I wanted it to travel so that it's max open and max close without pushing the servos too hard. So I went into Servo Setup, and right here, see this is aux2, and right here is where I set that to 108 and 50. And you'll just have to play with that, and you can change it. If you pull the switch forward,
drop.
that's open, how far it opens, and that's how far it closes. The next thing I wanted to set up was differential thrust. So if you don't want differential thrust, you don't have to do any of this. Just use a Y cable and enjoy your airplane. But if you want differential thrust, which I think is cool, the first two steps, go to System Setup. Remember I used aux3 for my second motor lead. So we have to go to Channel Assign, skip this page, go to Channel Input Config, and see right here, I've set aux3 to throttle. So what that will do is allow you to have both motors move. See how throttle on the left and aux3 is moving? But that doesn't give you differential thrust. That just syncs your two motors. So the second step is to set your mixes. Basically right click or click this once, click this button once and scroll down to mixing. Your first mix, just select mix 1. You're going to set it to rudder and aux3. Set the rate at 100%. You're only going to set this rate at 100%, and then pick a switch. Just click it and just flick it. I prefer this switch right here. Now this is a 3-position switch. This is a 3-position switch and only has 2 events. So in this case, I have it set to off.
Mix active.
The mix active, which it gives it to me.
Normal mode.
And then normal mode, because I couldn't think of a better term. But basically that's just standard, not differential
Mix
thrust.
active. Normal mode.
Then go back, go to mix 2, set your rudder and throttle, set your rudder to throttle, and then come to this rate and set it to -100%. And then again, same thing, choose switch G, same thing.
Mix active.
Make sure that the same one is on. It's just
Normal
literally
mode.
on off.
Mix active.
So this is
Normal
standard
mode.
rate,
Mix active.
and that's differential thrust. And so now you'll see, if you look down this side here, you can see when I apply, hopefully when I apply rudder, see I'm getting throttle at the top, and when I apply rudder the opposite direction, when I apply rudder the opposite direction, I'm getting aux 3. And that's how you set up differential thrust. Okay, and last but certainly not least, reverse. Remember how I showed you that I plugged my reverse into the gear channel right there. So this one's as easy as anything else on the Spectrum radios. You want to just go to System Setup, then go to Channel Assign. Again, RX port assignments, leave them alone. Leave gear set to gear. Next, go to Channel Input and Gear, click it and flick it. I'm going to put it on switch C right here. So I just flick that switch, it picks up switch C, and flick it and stick it. And again, it's also an on-off thing,
Normal
so you're
mode.
done programming it. If you want to set up all your voice stuff, but I'm too dumb to remember, so I like to set up voice stuff. Unfortunately, there's no reverse, so I have it set to
Release.
normal and release, because that's the closest I can come up to reverse.
Normal mode. Release. Normal mode.
So now I'll show you that everything works. A couple of things. One, I did put Dave Brown wheels on it because I love Dave Brown wheels. These are 4-inch wheels, and I think that's an 1.5 or 2-inch wheel. I did put a little cargo net in there, made out of this stuff, which I love. It's just stuff that like you'd line your cupboards with, and because it's gonna flop, stuff's gonna flop around in there, and I don't want to get it up in the plane. So where to start? The cabin or the bomb bay doors.
Bomb drop. Fail safe. Bomb drop.
There's
Fail
that.
safe.
Flaps.
Take off flaps.
There's half.
Landing flaps.
There's full. Right now it's just set to 50% and 100. May have to
Flaps
adjust
up.
that later. Okay. Regular thrust. Right now. The motors are pretty much synced. And notice that if I push my rudder left and right, nothing occurs. However, if I change
Mix active.
and turn that switch on, then when I move my rudder to the left, the right motor should spin, and that's the correct motor. When I move my rudder to the right, the left motor should spin. Differential thrust. And then we can just turn that right back off.
Normal mode.
And last but not least, reverse. Wrong switch.
Release.
I put it to that switch now, in theory. It didn't work.
Normal mode.
Oh, there it is. I'm on the wrong one.
Release.
So, forward. Woo!
Normal mode.
Backwards. Now, one thing, when it's in
Release.
forward mode, you can have the plane going forward. When you switch it to reverse, nothing will happen. And until the prop stops spinning. But notice that there's a break all of a sudden. But now the props are definitely spinning backward. And you can just flip it and go forward again. Why? I think that'll be important on the water, not so much in the air. Flip the switch.
Release.
In this case, the way it came out, the top two positions, top and center, are normal, and reverse is actually the third position. And it did that. You saw the plane back up. The other interesting thing is, I didn't really think through is, I have to ponder on this throttle cut.
Throttle cut.
It's there, but it only works on one motor. Notice how the left motor isn't running, but the right motor is, because that's the one, the left motor is hooked through throttle, and the right motor is hooked through aux3, so I'll have to figure out how to mix that out. But there you have it. Everything works great. Now we just got to go finish putting together, balance the props, go flat.